Okay, guys, so here we are starting on what will eventually be a lovely painting after I go through some massive struggles. So, I did this sketch when I was at a little art event not that long ago, and I've been really excited to start painting it, but I've had a lot of other stuff on my plate. But I decided to make some time for it. As you can see, I am painting this in Turner acrylic gouache, and I don't have a lot of experience with that, so I knew kind of going in that it was going to be a learning experience, and that's fine. And then it just, yeah, kind of spiraled. So I figured that we would turn it into this lovely video in which I talk to you guys about how we deal with our artistic mistakes. So, first of all, let's talk about how we approach a situation in which we are pretty likely to make a lot of mistakes. So, I'm doing this painting in acryl gouache, and I haven't done a lot of paintings in acryl gouache, and I have a very specific look in mind that I'm going for, and I want to do this smooth blend, and I've never done a smooth blend in acrylic. And of course, I picked this honkin' big panel to work on. So you can see that there's a few places that I'm really leaving for myself to like kind of fail, honestly. But I wasn't really thinking about when I started because I was just excited to get started painting something new that I was really excited to finally get to start working on. I really think that feeling of excitement is very important. Yeah, I'm pulling cat hairs out of my painting. I think that feeling of excitement is really important because if you don't have a feeling of excitement when you're going to a project where you're making a lot of mistakes, um, yeah, it's going to be really hard to keep momentum going when you start hitting that wall where you're like, I don't know how to do this part. I'm really struggling with it. It's not looking good. It's more than just the ugly phase. It's like, this isn't going the direction I want it to be. And so, yeah, that feeling of excitement is going to really help you push through that. And also, every time that we go into a painting like this, go into any situation like this, but I mean, like, this is an art channel, so I'm specifically speaking of art. Anytime we approach a painting like this, where I don't know how to do things, honestly, making those mistakes is where I'm going to learn the most. So be excited about making mistakes. It's o- it's okay to make them. It's not only okay, it's beneficial to you as an artist and as a human to make mistakes and work through them. And I don't know, hopefully watching this video, we can talk over some ways that maybe making those mistakes and working through them could be a little bit less hard and painful for us all. So, in this painting at this point, I am just putting a base coat on basically everything. A base coat on basically everything. I would edit that, but honestly, I think it's funny, so I'm leaving it. So I don't feel like I've made mistakes yet. I'm just throwing paint down. I'm doing fine. There's nothing that's really upsetting me yet. I can see that things look splotchy, but I'm expecting that because we're so early in the painting that nothing's gonna look good yet. Nothing looks good at this point in any painting. Yeah. So still excited, still happy, still just playing with my paints and slapping paint down and really enjoying myself. And I think in this painting I did something kind of unprecedented for me, and I actually mixed enough paint every time. Like, I actually remembered to mix more paint for the color that I was putting down than I thought that I needed. And I actually didn't run out of paint. And I think that might be the first time ever in my entire life. All right, and so here we are on the second layer of the sky. And I still don't know exactly what I've gotten myself into and how much of a struggle this is going to be. I am still painting very carefully around the outside of this owl. And I think one of the funniest things to me is like as I go through this process, I paint this sky, I think 5 or 6 times, And every time I paint it, more and more of that owl's head like gets eaten by the sky because I'm like, I'm just slapping paint down. Why isn't this working? Oh my gosh, he looks so funny later on. Okay, so at this point, I am putting layers 3 and 4 onto the sky, and I decide that maybe instead of trying to make the sky a smooth blend, I'll just put in some really ugly clouds that I don't want to put any effort into. Yeah, and unsurprisingly, they don't look good. And so here I am doing layer 5, and I am just painting over the clouds that I was like, oh, okay, I really don't like this. All right, we gotta do something else. And so after I paint over the clouds, I let it sit for 2 weeks. I really recommend this as a means of dealing with a mistake that keeps plaguing you in your art. Just set it down and work on something else. Like, seriously, let yourself, like, don't even look at it. Let yourself recharge. Like, your brain just needs to think about other things and look at other things, and then hopefully you'll figure out your path through, which is what happened to me. So, I realized that I was trying to paint in a specific style that I never paint in with acrylic wash, and it's because I saw other people painting in it with acrylics, and I was like, I want to try doing like something more realistic and more smooth and blended, and that's just not me. First of all, I don't have the skills to do that, which is fine. And second of all, it's just not my style. Like, I like painting in acrylic gouache like this, where I have very graphic shapes and lines and colors and not a lot of blending. And I like that. I like to paint that in acrylics. When I do oils, I have a lot more fun blending. When I do pencil studies, I have a lot more fun really getting more realistic look. But when I'm working with acrylic gouache and when I'm working with watercolors for that matter, I really like I like it's a totally different thing for me. And that's fine. Like I can have a different style for every different art medium and yeah, you can't take that away from me. I'm not giving it. Um so another thing that I gained when I took a 2 week break from this painting, like I'm not kidding, it was 2 weeks, was excitement. I finally felt like this is what was wrong is I was trying to paint in a way that doesn't suit me with this medium. And oh my gosh. And so when I finally got started back on this painting again, I was excited to be working on it. Like I was didn't dread going to my studio desk to work on this painting again, and like I needed that perspective, and like it's cool to give yourself that time. Like guys, we need that time to like reflect and realize what we're trying to work through. And yeah, for me it was just oops, I accidentally tried to copy a style that I didn't even think I was copying. I mean, like not really, but I was trying to work in a style that isn't my style for this. Like it's not what I want, and I needed that time. So here I am putting in very graphic lines and shapes, and the owl is just judging me with his eyes constantly as I'm trying to paint, but that's fine. That's my fault for not working on him sooner. Oh my goodness. Okay, I had to pause briefly there because I couldn't stop laughing. So, if you look at the sky right now behind this cool swirly thing that I'm painting, you can see that it is still not a solid color. And I decided to just be like, Annie, the thing that you are painting right now is not a masterpiece. It's like literally your third ever acrylic gouache painting. So maybe you should give yourself a break and just let the sky not be perfect and take other people's advice when they say things like, yeah, nobody notices that except for you, Annie, because it's your painting and you're way more picky with yourself than other people are with you. And I agree with that. Like, I listened to your advice, my friends, and just let it go and moved on. To these cute little stars. Yeah, I had so much fun painting these little stars and dots, and these would not have looked right over the gradient sky that I was trying to paint forever and ever. Like, I was literally sabotaging myself. So, yeah, definitely do not be afraid to take a step back, even if it's an extended step back, and work on other things and let your brain reset. Because there's a very real chance that you're trying to tell yourself something. Um, so, I just wanted to mention here that he looks like he's wearing a mud mask because I accidentally mixed too much water into my acryl gouache for a while, and yeah, it's meant to be mixed with water, just not that much. And it looks really funny to me as I am watching this playback. So this is like my favorite part of any painting, right? Is like all of these fun little fidgety details, putting in all of his little fluffy face feathers. And I actually looked at a great horned owl and altered the shape of his eyes because in my original sketch he was very much like he had people shaped eyes, and like that's fine, but like I looked at a great horned owl and he just looks so much cooler with kind of owl shaped eyes. Yeah, and when you're drawing like anthropomorphic animals, it's a fine line that you want to walk in between like what parts do you want to make human looking and what parts do you want to make animal looking. And I think his eyes look a lot better as owl eyes. And plus they were really fun to paint. Oh, also it's gardening season again, my friends, so please ignore how absolutely rough my hands are gonna look pretty much all summer. Yeah. So yeah, this was another thing that I gained just from like, I don't want to say making mistakes, but being willing to change my original ideas of what the painting should look like. Because if you stick to your sketch from start to end, I think you're losing a lot of chances that you have to like improve your painting as your ideas of what are possible change. Um, I hope that makes sense. I'm gonna pretend like it does and move on. So now we have owl eyes, and if you saw, I when I'm doing eyes, I I forgot I left this in here. Seriously, if I take a break, this is how I end up. Like, I have two cats perched on my leg awkwardly as I am just trying to, like, stick my feet up on the desk for a second and relax. Yeah. And yes, I wear socks with my Crocs. I also wear socks with my sandals. You can judge me if you want. I don't care. I don't understand how you can not wear socks with sandals because, like, my feet get sticky when it's hot. I don't know. Like, it feels weird. Anyways, so I'm okay looking weird rather than feeling weird. That's fine with me. Yeah. So, here's our changes from the original sketch to what the owl is looking like now. And I'm also like looking at that because clearly I painted over a lot of stuff when I was trying to fix the background, and I was trying to like at least get it close to where I wanted it when I first sketched it. And I think I did okay. It's good to keep your sketches around though, obviously. And then in the inside of the cape, his little feather cape, I actually did some blending, and obviously I didn't try to get it smooth because it just wasn't necessary for me. And in my original sketch, I have that drawn out as individual layers there. So like I was thinking of just putting those in as very solid chunks. And then I decided to be a little bit more blendy instead. And I really liked the way it looked. And so I didn't struggle with that part at all. So that was really nice. And I made enough paint. Like I made enough paint for all those colors. I was so excited. I can learn things. I can learn from my mistakes. That is basically the whole point of this video, right? And then I will make mistakes again happily. Like I have other acrylic paintings that I'm already planning on doing, and now I know a lot more than I did when I started this painting. So I'm really excited to start one. I have to do my Crocagator in space that I've been promising. So that's on the books. I've started the sketching for that. Yeah. But I had to get this guy done first because I just got really excited about painting him. And so I snuck him into my schedule, even though I honestly don't have time for this. And yeah, I was like, nope, nope, I'm getting crabby because I'm not getting to paint anything that's just for me. And so I painted this in the middle of all my commission work. Sorry, commission people, but you're waiting. And so I am now. I I mean, like, I don't. I almost feel like I've run out of things to say. So I'm like, I actually just started painting happiness here. I just started working on things, and it was not complicated and difficult. And oh, I will say that I am very careful to paint over all those little white spots that I leave on the edges so that I can kind of see like the borders of things, you know, like when you're painting an acrylic. I like to leave those because I can't, otherwise I lose the edges and I feel like I never get them back to where I like them. But I also don't want to leave little white spots everywhere because that looks hideous in my opinion. So I'm going through and making sure that I get all of those covered up. I have to tell you, I always have so much fun when I get to put in these super fine detail lines. I think the brush I'm using is an Artist Loft Vienna, which, I mean, actually performed better than I thought it was going to. Yeah. And you can tell I am not super worrying about the thickness of the lines on this little vest. I'm just like, oh, yeah, there are going to be lines there, and yeah, no. I also really liked putting in all of these super little tiny shadow lines and all of these little stitching marks on the vest. This is just like, I can just chill and like zone out kind of and not really think about what I'm doing when I'm doing all these little details at the end. Like I don't know, it's just really fun. It was also really satisfying to paint these buttons white. So I left it in for you guys because I know somebody else out there would be like, ooh, you painted the buttons white. Because I just love watching stuff like this. So this hand is another big correction that I got to make kind of as I was processing. Wow, that made it sound really weird. As I was working on this painting, I got to also fix this hand because in the original sketch, his index finger was a lot longer and kind of awkwardly shaped, and didn't make it look like he was actually holding onto the pinwheel. And yeah, did not look good. So I got to fix that, and then I added a thumb to make sure it actually looked like he was gripping it. And I based these on pictures of me. So I took pictures of me holding a pencil, and then yeah. And then somewhere along the line, I decided to give him only 3 fingers and a thumb instead of, you know, 4 fingers and a thumb. Yeah, I don't know why, but that's what I did. Yep. So here in the middle of my video, I'm going to take the opportunity to remind you that I started a Ko-fi account, and this is my 2nd month. And I think I might increase my digital rewards, maybe not this month, but next month, to include wallpaper. Like wallpaper you can put on your phone or on your computer or your laptop or whatever. Digital wallpaper. I'm sure I could have just said that a lot more simply if I were a simpler person and I just didn't have to talk all the time. So, anyways, I think I'm going to put that in my digital reward tier starting as soon as I figure out how to do it and make it look nice. Oh, and speaking of, I had one of my local artists ask me how I made stickers because I'm selling some of my stickers in my shop, and not my shop, in a shop here in Mankato where I live. So some of my stickers are out there, and she asked me how I make them, and so I said I'd make a video on that. And I am definitely not an expert, but a video I will make. So I'm hoping to get that done sometime in the next couple days and just get it out. And then I'm sure it's going to take me like an extra week because every time I'm like, oh, I can get that done really fast, it turns into like this giant logistical nightmare. And yeah, it takes me like 3 weeks to make. But so that's the next video I'm going to do. Hopefully will come out this weekend. I took some time off of my day job, so I have a little bit of extra time right now. So here I am working on a little adjustment that I made like, when I originally did this drawing, the sketch for this, like, it was just, you could only see the inside of the cape on both sides. And then when I started painting this wing, I was like, or this side of the cape, whatever you'd like to call it, I was like, oh man, that really looks like it folds around his shoulder, and that looks so much nicer, I think. I really like the depth it gives, and then I was like, well, I'm gonna put like an interesting little feather gradient on it, like nothing too complicated because I want the focus to be on other things. But yeah, I don't know. I had so much fun painting those. And it looks cool with the inside of the cape too. Right, so now I start working on the grass. I decided in my initial sketch for this that I wanted it to look a little bit like he was in a clearing in a forest. So I wanted him to have some trees in the background and some kind of bushy shapes, and then like in the foreground, I wanted him to be standing on like a manicured lawn and have some flowers on stems. Here's a brief intermission to show you two interesting visitors to my desk, one being my cat and the other being the people who are doing the finishing work on my windows on my house. It was a very strange day to sit at my desk. I was like, people kept walking up to the outside of my window and talking to me through my window. I was like, it scared me every single time. It's my backyard, so it's not like anybody ever goes back there. Yeah. So here I am painting the frame. This is a panel from Trekkel, whatever you want to call that company. So it is a really nicely made wooden panel. Although I think every panel that I've gotten from them has been like one of their imperfect panels because I was like, well, I'll just try them out. And honestly, my art's not perfect yet, so I don't need to spend a lot on perfect panels. So, but yeah, I will put a link to those below. And I decided that I wanted to put the title of the painting like in the frame. So I am just tracing that little frame where I want to put the title of the painting so that I can like write it out beforehand. Which I don't know. Maybe to you it sounds like a lot of extra work to go through, but it helped me really yeah, get better lettering done than it would have been if I just done straight onto there. Because here I am using tracing paper, which, by the way, since this is a video about all of the mistakes that I've made during this painting, I traced this whole thing and then lifted up my paper and realized I had forgot to put the tracing paper underneath, and so I had to do it all again. Yay! Guys, honestly, I really enjoy myself. I get a lot of amusement out of how many mistakes I make in my daily life. And I recommend taking that attitude towards mistakes because, like I said in the beginning, mistakes are going to happen anyway. So you might as well not get mad about them because it doesn't help anything. So, and I think I'm still using that Vienna brush here. I'm just super zoomed in, and woof, my fingers. Yeah, they get pretty bad in the summer because I'm just digging in dirt all the time and ripping up weeds. And I really liked painting these letters, and I think they turned out really nicely. And I have like a hand lettering book, which is where I got this font from, and I'd really like to spend more time doing lettering, both just like in like with a pen and with paint. Like I think I don't know, it's really fun to watch people who can do it, and I bet it's really satisfying to do. Like once you get better at it, yeah, I'd really love to try that. And here is the finished night owl. So happy with how he looks, and I'm so happy that I stuck with it. I think he's gonna eventually get varnish because he does look a little bit washed out, and I don't think this stands up really well to being touched. Like it gets kind of glossy looking if you touch it. Yeah. And I decided to sign the back of the panel, which gives you a chance to see my first and also final mistake I made with this. Oh, yeah. It is upside down. Leave a comment, guys, and here's some bonus footage of me realizing that I have the world's stumpiest thumbs, just like Susan's family in Monsters vs. Aliens, which is an awesome movie that you should definitely watch. See you guys next week. Bye bye.